Welcome back to Horrifically Well Read, Bled, and Said. We are so excited today to introduce the author of the excellent short story collection, Hell Hath No Sorrow, Like a Woman Haunted. Wonderful title, too, and many other things. The wonderful RJ Joseph. Welcome to the pod.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. I've been super excited to talk with y'all.
Wonderful.
We have
Well,
been super excited
yes.
to talk with you. And Adam, let's not forget, she's also a professor.
Well, yes. And I have to say, maybe my favorite email address that I've sent a link to. And if we want to talk about that a little bit, I just love that the Black academic. That's like just perfect. I love it. And I think that goes into sort of the mentality and stuff that goes into a lot of your writing too, that it's very, there's so much more to it than on the surface, and that's my favorite kind of work. So love it. And the first thing that we always talk about here, and it's always interesting hearing people's different backgrounds and how they came to this genre that we all know and love, and sometimes didn't know we loved it. But have you always been a horror fan? Always knew you wanted to be in the genre, or is that something more new to you?
Well, okay, I've actually been a fan my whole life, but I have to say here that I'm a stereotype, but not a stereotype, in that
All
Oh,
right.
I am the English professor who writes. However, I started out, as just a little Black girl here in Texas. I've been here my whole life and I was raised Southern Baptist. So I don't know if anybody listening kind of knows what that means. What that means is
oh
that,
yeah.
yes, what that means is that you don't embrace those things, you don't talk about those things. I
Mm-mm.
spent a whole lot of time being prayed over because I was interested in dark things. I thankfully came from a reading household, though. My mama and daddy were always reading all kinds of stuff, but my mama really liked comic books and romance books. And then my daddy liked
Okay.
comic books, but horror and sci-fi. And
Mm.
so the thing that happened was that, you keep sex stuff away from the kids, which it's appropriate. It makes sense. So they never let us read mama's stuff until I got much older, but they never thought to put away like the Stephen King novels and the creepy comic books. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, so one of the first novels I ever read was Carrie. And I was super young, so I must have been about 7. I didn't
Nice.
understand every single thing that happened. I just knew that she was a monster, she was a girl, and she was on the cover. So, yeah, I was kind of a bit of a closeted horror writer for years until I went to graduate school. I went to Seton
Hmm.
Hill University. I was in their writing
Okay.
Yeah, I was in their writing popular fiction program, and it was there that I met my people. And they kept asking me in that first residency, they'd kinda look at me and go, "Are you sure you're a romance writer?" And I said, "Yeah, I am a romance writer." And they were like, "Yeah, but you're also one of us." So I learned real quickly that I could kind of workshop horror stuff while I was working on my
Mm.
romance thesis. And I came out like a totally better writer anyway. But I think that was where I
Mm.
actually found the confidence. I had my first publication overall at like 17 in one of those forbidden romance magazines. But
Oh,
then I
that's
had
awesome.
my first horror publication like back in 1993. So I've been doing it. I just wasn't doing it openly and out loud until I'd probably say the past maybe 15 years or so.
I have to ask, Southern Baptist household with Stephen King and horror comics. How did that?
Yeah. Was and that's exactly how like I'm not the stereotype, right? Cuz
Yeah,
we used to watch the horror movies when they used to run them, the black and white ones like on Saturdays. I would inundate
yeah.
my father with all these questions. Poor guy. He just didn't really want to hear all those questions, but I was fascinated by this stuff. And I think that that was the thing that kind of made our household a little bit different because we were like the
Mhm.
whole, yep, you're going to church and you're going to Sunday school and you're going to do this and you're going to participate. But we had all this crazy reading stuff at home, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah, so was it one of those things where, like, at home it was fine, then you got to Sunday school and it was like, "Oh, yeah, I was reading Carrie," and suddenly all the eyes are like, "What?"
Yeah, yeah. Well, also, see, my mom and daddy were so open about these kind of things. Like yeah,
Uh-huh.
they didn't care that much. Like this was the whole when you go to church, don't be talking to your granny about
Yeah.
that though. It was kind of like that kind of thing.
Oh my God.
That's so funny. Yeah, like, my parents were we were raised Southern Baptist too, but we were, like, on and off.
Yes.
So it would be like, we wouldn't go for a couple of years and everything was fine, and then we go and it's like, "You need to get rid of all these books and not listen to this music," and all, and like, "What?" And then it would be back to, "Oh, we don't care anymore." So
Right.
it was very, like, back and
You
forth.
totally get it. You are my people.
Exactly. And then it was like, you couldn't go too far. Like, Stephen King, that's fine, but if you wanted The Exorcist, no, that's not happening. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh my gosh.
Like you can't bring that kind of stuff in.
Yeah.
So that's so
That
funny.
is hilarious.
So like, when you went to college, it was the horror people that you were like, "Oh, I like," so that was like that first taste of the horror community of like, these are good people. These are people that, get me kind of
It
thing.
really was. I mean, like, so while I was kind of a late bloomer, so I started undergrad at like that traditional college age, but it just wasn't kind of working out. So I just kind of did the whole working thing. I had a kid. I just didn't have friends, who were really into that type of thing. So it was
Mhm.
kind of, I watched my movies by myself and I still read my
Yep.
books by myself. But yeah, Seton Hill was the first time that I was actually like surrounded by other people that are writing horror. It's really a thing you can do. The professors there are writing horror, winning awards in it. And I'm like, this is really the thing that I can't seem to stay away from. I think this is where I'm supposed to be. So I have to really credit them for just accepting me in that kind of way because otherwise I probably would have just
Yeah.
kind of stayed, undercover forever, I guess.
Well, that's funny that you say that. That has to be wonderful to have, like, professors that are writing it. Now you're obviously a professor that's writing it. I had just posted that when I was an undergrad and was so excited to take this
Mhm.
creative writing workshop, and it was like I gave them my story and like people were talking about it and they like liked it. I was like, okay, this is going pretty good. And then the professor's like, this is horror and it's worthless, essentially.
No,
I was just like, this is gonna be a really shitty, 6 months.
yeah,
So it was like it went from being so happy to so, and I think and that was like the early 2000s, so like the mindset has changed so much, but the fact that you were able to find, people that were accepting and doing that then, man, lucky.
yeah, yeah, I was really lucky. So I mean, I went to grad school later in life and I remember being in a creative writing class as a matter of fact the same year that my first story was published. And I sent
Mm,
this story in for workshopping and my professor was so wonderful. There was not
Mm.
one time that he said this is terrible, this really sucks. I mean, like we workshopped the story like it was something valuable. And then when it went on to be published, I was like, oh my gosh, I guess maybe it really is. So yeah,
yeah.
Wow.
yeah, earlier in
What a
undergrad.
difference in belief and the trajectory of, you continue to believe in yourself and
Yeah,
found, and then Adam on the other hand said he got stalled for
20 years.
exactly. I mean,
better late than
it's
never.
terrible. Oh, yes, I'm so glad that you're here, Adam. This is great because we are I mean, and I think that that's one of the things I think is so important with our students. It's like we should encourage them to do whatever it is that they're trying to do. Like I can't imagine like knocking people down and making them feel bad. Like I don't understand what, the deal is with some professors. It's like, are you kidding me? Let's not do that. That's not our job.
Well, it's so funny too because we see, as we talk to horror authors, a lot of writers also have, another profession that they do. And I would say it's of those people that have another profession, 90% of them are either a professor or a therapist.
Yep.
And it's like because we just talked. Her episode comes out tomorrow, but Mo Moshadi, it's like therapist. Monique Asher, therapist.
Yep.
It's like okay, the other people like, and it's like, and I think that it's so funny that horror had been so put into this back burner of like, oh, it's genre, it's not that important. But, it is, I think, the genre that is the most psychological. It is the most digging into, different parts of what makes a person and what's a monster and what's going on in society and reflecting that. And really, it's kind of the opposite, where if you're looking for truth and you're looking for answers to what's going on in the world, in a really deep kind of primal level, it's like that's where you should be looking, not thrillers or spy things, which I love
Yeah.
and they serve as entertainment, but it's like, and horror can do that too, but it also is like if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of humanity, that's where you go also, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are no coincidences in this way. So yeah, I'm not surprised. Most of us are working through some stuff here, and horror is a really good vehicle to use to do that.
Yeah.
To give me some ideas here. How do you balance like how much you're going to write with the teaching and then being a wife and a mom and then also what you like to read? I feel like you're such an accomplished woman and I feel like trying to prioritize all those things, right? Because there's so much I want to read, so much I want to do and, how does that work for you?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your kind words. There, it's a struggle. I'm not going to say that it's easy. The good thing is that I'm able to kind of tie my writing to the teaching. So even though I teach a kind of a variety of classes in the English department, so I'm teaching things like composition. I'm teaching lit classes. I'm teaching a woman in horror class. I mean, there are lots and lots of ways that I can kind of tie literature, not necessarily my own, but like just kind of staying immersed in that world. I always run into students who like to have the book recs, the movie recs, so I'm able to talk to them. Our people, we find each other, right? Um,
Oh yeah.
and thankfully, my kids are much older now, and so it's slightly easier in that they're young adults. I do have a disabled daughter who her siblings are really, really good with helping me with her. And I have a huge village of people around us. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so I mean, my husband's very supportive, my kids are very supportive, my mama, my sister, my close relatives, they're very, very supportive of this because they understand that it's a thing that it's important for me to do. I haven't always been able to do it, but the more I'm able to have projects to work on, the more that I'm able to immerse myself in like these book events or into this world that I'm writing. I mean, it really does make me a better like world citizen. So I'm just better to be around when I get a chance to write. I think my
Yeah.
husband and kids figured that out a long time ago. They're like, listen, let her go be weird. It'll just be a little bit, and then we'll have her back and then she'll be fine.
Work it out on the page so that it's not worked out anywhere else.
Yes, yes. And so I write a lot of short form. I am writing novels now, which is a really
Okay.
funny kind of thing. Like, yeah, it's one of those things that happens, right? You just kind of go, "Uh-oh,
Yeah.
maybe this is what I'm supposed to be
This
doing."
one just keeps going.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Well, I think
yeah.
that
Oh my god.
that's hard though. Like I forget who we were speaking to, but they were like, I just can't write a short story. Like I want to say it was Donna Taylor. But she was like, I just keep trying to write, and it's short, and it doesn't work out. It's like I'm a novel girly, and
Mm.
I feel that, but I also see like the value of you being able to craft and do well a short story, and just really execute it to the best of the ability too. But what are your novels about now, or like how is that transitioning from the short stories that you've written in Hell Hath No Sorrow, like a Woman Haunted, and like what are your novels going to be more about, or how would you expand upon them?
Well, so the one novel that I'm drafting currently, I mean, again, I have this really crazy trajectory of like just falling into things because if I try to plan certain things out, I would probably never actually go to do it, right? And so my agent and I were shopping around
Yeah.
my second story collection, and we kept getting these responses that were like, you know what, this is really cool. We love this writing. Can't really do much with a short story collection though. Good luck with that. However, if
Mm.
RJ ever writes a novel, we'd love for you to send that to us. And so, of course, Natasha, my agent, is like, hey, by the way, would you happen to be writing any novels? And I go, it's funny that you should ask that because I have this thing that is, it's sort of like Lovecraft Country meets the Underground Railroad and the Old West, right? And
Okay.
so
That sounds
yeah,
insanely
so I'm like,
wonderful.
this thing is in no way a short story. Like it's this huge behemoth of a thing, like just the whole idea of it. And so I think that what I'm bringing to it, that is kind of that RJ Joseph flavor is that, I mean, it is about Black people. It's a freed, enslaved, Black freedmen's town that is in the Old West. And
Hmm.
I did want to write something very specifically before the Civil War so that we could talk about, the fact that in real life history here that, free Black people weren't allowed to settle in lots of parts of the West. And so that's really important to me. So it's a historical horror, but it's about these creatures that
Wow.
derive from Black magic, where there was a root woman who was trying to help to free herself and her family, and it kind of went wrong. And so there's this younger root woman who is having to partner together with her destined doctor to be husband in order to get rid of these creatures. And I mean, when the idea first came to me, I thought, I'm going to write this sweeping historical romance novel. And then I go, no, you've never been able to do that. But what you could do is write this sweeping historical horror novel that has a romantic
Yeah.
through line. And I thought, you know what? I'm
Mhm.
happy with that. So that's what this thing
Yeah.
is turning into.
I think that's one of the beautiful things about horror is that it can be romantic, it can be
Yeah.
historical, it can be funny, it can be all of these things. And I don't know if there's any other genre that can pull all those kinds of things in and still be a cohesive like story.
Right, right. Oh, yeah, definitely. Because I mean, being a romance landia girly also, like, I would never dare call this a romance novel because it does not hit
Mhm.
all of those romance tropes, you know? And in horror, we
Right.
don't always have happy endings, right? So, I would never dare
Right.
call it, like, a romance novel, but I will absolutely call it a historical horror that has a strong romantic elements, though, you know? It's a versatile
Mhm.
beast like that.
Love
Yeah.
that. Love that. Because really, I'm thinking about like when you have a really good meal and you
Mhm.
and you just like mix it all together
Yeah.
because you want the flavors of all of it at one time.
Yeah.
I'm not one
Or
of
it's
those
like,
people where nothing on the plate touches. I'm like,
yeah.
let's mix a little bit of this, a little bit of that,
But it's
and
also like, yeah, you buy a steak dinner, but if it doesn't have the baked potato and the asparagus and the bread,
yes,
like you, all those things come together to make that delicious meal, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I mean, and then there's also, the idea that I spent all this time and money, right? Like learning how to be a really good romance writer. And so I'm like, I'm going to use that.
Hmm.
So I got to use that every now
Yeah.
and again. I got to pull it out, you know?
Yeah. Right. You got to show these kids you're teaching how it's done too,
Yes,
right? It's like,
absolutely.
this is, so I was recently read, Sadie Hartman, Mother Horror's new book, Feral and Hysterical, which is about, it's a list, but also has essays and stuff about women in horror.
Hmm.
And she says in her prologue, no one, like, because, horror has been predominantly, at least in the mainstream, a white man's game.
Hmm.
Kind of thing. That one, women are the most equipped to write horror
Yeah.
because they go
hmm
through
Oh,
it
yeah.
so much more. But I would say that, even more so, especially in this country, a black woman is the most equipped to write horror because of the things that are experienced. And just wanted to get your perspective, like, on that and sort of how that goes into your writing and what part of your experiences or experience of other people that you've heard or researched or looked at that you're like, this is what I want to do. I want to bring light to these things, like what you just said about the Freedman's Town, all that kind of stuff. How much of that is like, I want to write about this or I need to write about this kind of thing?
It's both. I think that if I had to pick one, it would be I need to write about this.
Mhm.
There's so much horror. Like I guess I feel like I have to start with saying there is also joy, right? But in the horror
Mhm.
genre,
Yep.
that's not what we do. We don't do the rainbow sprinkle glitter. We don't do that. So one
Mhm.
of the things that I think helps with these experiences is that there are so many people who just won't believe it because they're not their experiences. And so
Right.
when I say
so limiting.
it's so limiting. So when I say, listen, I know that this story has at its core, the main protagonist is a, 13-year-old girl. But when I talk about her having to fend off the terrible attentions of older men, that is a fact. That is what happens. There's the statistic that haunts me every time I think about it, but I use it a lot in my
Mm.
work, but that it's like 1 in 6 Black girls will suffer from sexual assault by the time they are 18. And
Yeah.
so when I go 1 in 6, like those are
Mm.
really great odds for a very terrible thing. And so when
Yeah.
I
Great odds for a very terrible
yes,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
And so I go, so when I'm talking about this, it's not because I'm trying to be doom and gloom, but that is not just my reality, but the reality of so many Black girls in the world. And
hmm
so, like, I feel
hmm
like I have to say that. Or when we talk about problems with class, even like conversations within, like, within Black experiences, because of course the experiences are not a monolith, but we also have
Sure.
our own problems, right? We have our own problems with class. Like, we don't want to pay attention to people, Black people that are, let's say what ghetto or like inner city. But I'm like, but but we
Mhm.
all have the same experiences. So, I really want to write about all these people. So I want to write about the Black women who are in academia. I want to write about the Black women who are in the backwoods of East Texas. I want to write about the Black girls who are growing up in the inner city and they're just trying to be comfortable in their own skin and they don't really know how to do that. I want to write about the old women, old Black women who are like deemed to be monstrous because they're beyond childbearing years and they kind of people just don't think they
Mm.
have any worth. Like I want to write about all of these experiences because I think it's important for people to know that these things exist and they're horrific.
Yeah, absolutely. And each thing that you're touching on, it's like I would be interested in reading about each one of those things because I love how you said like it is not a monolith and depending on regionality and generation and always think back to ascribed and achieved status, it impacts so much.
Yes.
Um and I know I bring this book up a lot. Maybe by the end of the year, Adam, you'll actually read it. But I don't know if you've read it yet, but The House of Eve, easily by Sadiqa Johnson, I think is. And she really shows that. It's two female Black main characters and different experiences with pregnancy. One being sent to a home to have to, give up her child with absolutely no choice. The other one of, basically living in Black society and not good enough or not high enough, for the person that wants to marry hers or her future mother in law. And the expectations and experiences around that level of them trying to get pregnant and how it all intertwines. And it was really interesting to see how even within smaller communities, like you said, like there can be ones that's like we don't care about them, and then also just like the internal pressures for to live up to certain things within just that. And obviously, I'm just trying to learn and read. I don't, that is not my personal lived experience. However, it was really eye opening to me on a different level of kind of behind a window peak that I never got to really have an experience with before,
Oh, that
and I just found it really profound.
That is wonderful. I have not read that. Thank you so much for the recommendation. It sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I always relate it to like the Grady Hendrix's like Witchcraft or Wayward Girls of like having to go to one of those terrible homes. I mean, and the birthing and the expectation and the treatment of pregnant women having to like be teens and like basically earn their stay at the home that they didn't want to go to in the first place.
Mhm.
It's like that's happening in this book. So if you read that, you would like this. And then there's just the added element of just the higher educated, like, she's going to medical school and he is too. And it's like you think, well, certainly I should be good enough or qualified enough. And then it's like, nope, you're
Mm.
not. You're still not good enough for our son. It's just really a great novel.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look at that because those are exactly the kinds of things that I mean that we need to know. I really think that so many of these experiences, because above all, they're human experiences, but when you start adding
Yes.
intersectionality is kind of one of those things that I've started to, I mean, I'm kind of one of those intersectionality girls in horror. It's like, listen, Black women can be poor, Black women can be disabled, Black women can be queer, start looking at
Right.
how all those aspects intersect, then the experience
Mhm.
is gonna be even different.
I think this was the 60s, if I'm remembering it correctly. So I think just that timeline really plays into it too. There was just so much like it brings in some Jewish culture and a lot of different things. And it was just, when you're trying to learn and understand and have empathy and just critical knowledge of someone else's experiences, which I guess is I hope more people as many people are interested in that as me, because I
Mhm.
feel like that's the whole point of reading is
Sure.
having a lived experience that you didn't actually have to live.
Right.
But it should translate into, what you're doing professionally, what you donate to, how you give support, how you, just all together. Like right now I'm seeing so much, and I appreciate the people that are, and this has nothing to do with black, white, whatever,
Mhm.
but I'm just thinking about right now all these SNAP benefits are on hold,
Yes.
and the amount of people that are just like, why didn't you stockpile your fridge? And there's a like a white female creator on TikTok that I love to watch, that she just always like, she's so brilliant and smart, and I don't know how she knows everything. She
Mhm.
just says she has like a doctorate in art, but nevertheless she was like, do you understand, not everybody, like, SNAP is not designed to cover all of your food bills. It is designed to cover the bare minimum. Like,
Yes.
you take for granted that maybe the area that they live in doesn't have the best landlords or the best pest control, and maybe
Right.
they can't stock up on
Right.
certain things,
They have the room,
yeah,
it's
the
like, yeah.
space. I mean, there were so many things, and it's just like, that perception altogether of, just starting out as, I think we had talked about that before with Reagan, villainizing the welfare
Uh-huh.
queen.
Mhm.
And it's just that kind of stuff where it's just so angering. And I'm just so glad for like a social media aspect where we can share these things
Yes,
and really like educate people that aren't going
absolutely.
to sit and read, and and someone will use their platform in that
Yes.
way. And conversely, I was saying that last night there was a town meeting in our, like, the capital of our state, so in the Harrisburg area,
Mhm.
because last week there was a parade,
A
in
Halloween parade
a
for
Halloween
kids, yeah.
parade, and cards for the WKKK were being passed out, which I'd never even heard of a WKKK, but
Wow.
and put in children's candy buckets. And so, like, the group said, like, yeah, that was us, we did it. Like,
Oh,
they shouldn't have ended up in the candy buckets, but like, children shouldn't be used as pawns. But like, yeah, we were there and we're handing the stuff out.
wow.
And so people drove from like Philly and all other places to like come up and like demonstrate and really, um, say like this isn't okay. But it's like, if we're not, the thing I took away from that is they said they call themselves the Invisible Empire. If we're not using books like this in situations and just overall empathy and learning, then I think that's how things like this bubble up to the surface
Of
again.
course.
Easily things are manipulated as it's their fault. It's this population of people. It's these people that are, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's so easy to hate.
Yeah, oh, of course it is. Well, I mean, that's a lot of the ideation that's behind book banning also. It's like, let's ban the books that talk about
Absolutely.
these experiences, because if we have no books that document the experiences, well, then that means they didn't happen. That means that this doesn't exist.
Do you know what?
And it's terrifying
Do you know
because
what's
people
happening?
like they
It
actually
is.
fall
Do
for
you
it.
know what's happening? Literally just saw a post that the one school district around here is challenging the AP history textbook because it's too raw and it's considered to be un-American.
Yeah, right.
Now, this is the same school board that like wanted to fight for
Intelligent design.
until, yes.
Wow.
Anyway, the point is like,
They
oh,
lost that
okay.
one.
Well, the history is supposed to be showing, like, we're not supposed to be feeling good about the choices and the things that were
Right.
made.
History is about what happened, not whether it makes you feel good or not.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if it makes you feel bad, then maybe do something different
Yeah.
next go round, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what it does is it removes the indoctrination. And there is that propaganda inherently in textbooks,
Oh yeah,
depending
already.
on how it's written and things. And
This is true.
yeah, and so I feel like that's what the person's saying is it's not propagandized enough. It's too, we're missing some of this, so we're going to rebuke it.
Yeah, it's really frightening. Like, there's a part of me that is I'm concerned for my grandchildren because they are going to have to go through the K-12 system. My children, like I said,
Mhm.
they're young adults, they're in college now, several of them, where I can almost kind of hope that they do still get introduced to this broader set of ideas. But I mean, that in itself is a problem that's facing us, like not just in higher ed, but also in the creative spheres, because we are not supposed to be writing things like about enslaved Black women who were being raped in order to breed more inventory for their owners, right? Like, I write about things
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
that because it really happened. And when you think about a full
It
circle moment, we're coming back to forcing women to give birth in order to
Yeah.
have more servants. They're calling them citizens, right? It's not really what we are now. But yeah, this is a full circle moment. And if nobody's writing about this, and if it's being totally diluted into saying, rah, rah, we're so perfect, we're so great. Well, I mean, of course it's easy to forget. Of course it's easy to
one
not know.
one more book rec for you after you just mentioned the forced of Black women breeding. The Blueprint by Ray Gianna Rashad is another one that I know I said it on another podcast which we haven't released, but the author's note is literally because it's facing, like, it's documenting what had happened to her family members.
Mm.
Yes,
And
I think I've heard of this.
it's like a sci-fi, like, what is it, like it's like an American
Like a
adjacent timeline.
dystopian.
It is. And
Mhm.
it's like basically you're kind of assigned, of what you're going to be doing and who you're going to marry and
Mhm.
what, but it is, it's like a form of I guess I would say like organized enslavement
Right.
of, you don't really get any choice. They're going to do
Right,
this with
right.
these men, and powerful, really, really, haunting, like just
Mhm.
disgusting. And then to know, like, when I got to the end that, oh my gosh, this is like based upon, how the idea came from the fact that this happened to her family
Yeah.
members, awful.
Yeah, and these things go in circles because people decide that they're going to try to erase that it even happened. They're going to not talk about it. They're going to ban the books and stories that do detail it. And so when it happens again, because that's the plan, is for it to happen again. When it happens again, well, then nobody
You know
can
what?
fight
I
against it.
agree. Really, well, what seems to be interesting right now is all this stuff before the Epstein files have been released, that there's all this stuff of like, um, well, 12 years old, a girl's mature enough for this. Like, there's been
Yeah,
some rhetoric around, and then
yeah.
there's like something else of like, oh, well, it's, who was it?
Older men are
No, who was it?
more
Older men are more likely to be
are
more
more
virile and,
yeah,
and,
Oh,
and
that
produce.
they produce better babies with younger
And
women
it's like,
than
oh,
younger women do with younger men. Like,
oh, okay. So you're priming
mhm.
us to
yep,
say that, whoever's on this list, it
yes.
was okay.
Yeah,
Right. Oh, of
and
course.
it leads yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, that's of course, that's the goal. The goal is let's prepare.
Yeah.
Let's prepare people for when this comes out. I mean,
Yep.
but of course, science is already debunking that because I've been reading a
They
Yes.
lot
do.
of research that
Absolutely.
talks about,
That's why they're not big fans of
yeah,
it.
the quality of sperm decreases as you get older. I mean, come on,
Hmm.
who would have thunk it, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, really? There's no big
Yeah,
surprise
exactly.
there.
Not like anything else does that, right? Yeah. But
Women's eggs still say great, it's
yeah,
not,
yeah.
but the sperm motility. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right,
But
exactly.
that makes me think, going back to what we were saying, one book that I just cannot wait for next year. Well, Listen to Your Sister was one of my favorite books this year by Nina Veal,
Uh-huh.
but her next novel is like a horror reimagining of the very first welfare queen that Reagan was.
Really?
Yeah, so
What's
I
the name of that?
I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the
Okay.
show notes. But
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that sounds
I can't wait
amazing.
for that. But I don't know if you've read Listen to Your Sister, but I love that book. But the very first story in your collection,
Yeah, let's get into your amazing work.
well, this ties into it so much. And like as I was reading this book, I was like, I cannot wait to talk to her because Left Hand Torment kind of ties right into this,
Uh-huh.
right? Where it's basically like, these white men had side
Yes.
wives that were of color and would take their children to these balls to be married off to these other white
Mhm.
men to be their side wife too.
Right.
And I just wonder, because as you're writing this, one, how much truth
Yeah.
was this something that you researched and happened? I'm sure something like it, if not specifically this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I'm Southern. Like I think we kind of talked about that and we can hear that in my accent. I'm Southern. And so when I think about Black women, like I'm often looking at the things that Black women experienced throughout history, like in other Southern states also. And I'm fascinated by Louisiana, right? Because of the things that
Hmm.
happened, because of the history, and mostly
Mhm.
the thing that led me to actually going down this rabbit hole of the left-hand marriages was thinking about how so many of those
Yeah.
Black women used that as a tool for as much freedom as they could get. Right. So it's not just, I mean, it's
Yeah.
terrible they were forced into these marriages. It's terrible that they had to, like, if they actually, developed feelings for this husband, they had to watch him go and legally marry someone else whose children could be publicly acknowledged. But the fact of the matter is, so many of
Mhm.
these women were able to barter their hand in these left-hand marriages for their freedom, their children's freedom. Sometimes they could actually own the homes that their husband gave
Mhm.
to them. I read this really riveting story, oh my gosh, years ago
Mm.
about a white plantation owner who moved his left-hand family to Florida. And when I say he set up his left-hand wife, he couldn't marry her legally, but he took them and he got them all this land, and they were able to build wealth through this kind of an alliance. And so it is very terrible, I think, to be
Mm.
forced into marriage. It's terrible. It's also terrible to be forced into breeding if
Yeah.
that's not what you want to do. But at the same time, this has been a vehicle for the way that a lot of Black women, they just kind of used what they had to get what they needed to have, which was freedom, which was wealth, which
Mhm.
was things that they could do for their kids.
Yeah. I current book that I'm reading right now has said some powerful things. She's written other horror books, The Change and Lula Dean's, but it's the Kristen,
Miller.
and she's like talking about the one like witch in the story, and she's like, I'm so angry that I'm so beautiful. Like the amount of bullshit I have to deal with
Yeah.
the men and the things they do to me. And she's like, don't ever reject having that. She's like, you know how many women that we don't have rights for anything, and one of the only things we have is our beauty and
Yeah.
our bodies that can make change and impact, of growth for women. And I was like, wow, I never even thought about it like that. Like, that's one of your only tools if you can't do anything to vote or change, or.
Exactly. Oh, exactly.
So it lines right up with what you're saying for that. And it was like some other line she said in there of like, when you said about the breeding, but it's like women have to come to the verge of death in order to create life.
Yes.
And it's like, if that's not the damn truth too. And it's like, they don't think about that when they're asking us to, breed or just make more babies,
Right.
and the toll that it takes on the body and all that.
Right. Well, and then you think about also the fact that medical care is what it is in this country. Like when I
Mm.
listened to Serena Williams talk about her birth experience with her first baby, and I
Mm.
thought, oh my gosh, she is like this multimillionaire. She's married to this multi-billion, they're rich, they have money. And even
Mhm.
she had this terrible experience. Even she like
Right.
almost
Yeah.
didn't live through this situation. Um,
Awful.
it's terrible. I mean, and then
Awful.
and then you see like the maternal outcomes for Black women are so low,
Awful.
right? They're terrible.
Absolutely
So
awful.
when you are telling women
In modern day time
yes,
like this, it's like absolutely awful. I
Yeah.
mean, the statistics are
that
disgusting.
very much so. Yes. And so even at the time period in the 1800s when I wrote this story, it wasn't so much that Dominique did not want to have children, but I mean, she realized that her betrothed, her husband, was something other than just a guy, right? So when she figured that out,
Mhm.
she's like, yeah, I don't want
Mhm.
to bring forth any of those kind of babies. Whatever you have going on, I don't want no parts of that. And so, yeah, she was still forced to do
Yeah.
Mm.
and there's so many of us even in this current time who are forced to do that.
I can't help but think that, we were schooled and taught in the romance genre,
Right.
and then reading that story and thinking that is the most opposite
Yes,
of a
yes.
romantic, like, sex scene. Like, I've never been more horrified. Like, you could feel the pain in the pages, like, just, like,
Mm.
I don't know, I was just reading it, and I'm just like, "Ow," like, it
Yes.
hurts so bad to read. But she went through over and over again, and, I think that, like, the history of this country when it comes to, forced, rape, even marital rape, when it comes to
Mhm.
these things, it's like, this is obviously this is not a human being, or at least not just a human
Right.
being. This is some sort of horrific creature. But the experience and the fear and the I don't want this to be happening is such an unfortunately commonplace thing,
Right.
even with someone that like she was like all about marrying, and obviously there might have been some kind of supernatural aspect to her wanting to marry
Right.
him so much, but still it was like one of those things where it's like, no, I love you and I want to be with you, and still you were hurting me, and
Exactly.
that is just the scariest thing.
How about when men, for the longest time, were allowed to make decisions to just get their wives lobotomized
Yes.
because they didn't understand their postpartum depression,
Sure.
or they were so hysterical, and it's
Hmm.
like, you know what, let's just stick it in through their eyeball. And
Yeah.
obviously there's a very prominent example from the Kennedys, but
Yes.
just knowing that, like, not only do they have the right to get you pregnant, deem how often you're going to be pregnant and
Yeah.
what that's going to be like, but then after, and you're in the recovery mode and all that, it's like, yeah, you're not recovering fast enough. Maybe we should consider a lobotomy, or
Yeah.
Oh,
whatever. It's
yeah.
just
And just knowing, like,
victimization again and
And
again and
again and
again.
again.
for every story we know, there's how many hundreds or thousands that we don't, right?
Oh,
Exactly.
of course. I mean,
And I'm getting pissed off in this conversation.
well,
That's the point,
that's
right?
the point. That is totally the
I mean,
point.
that's the point. It's
That's the
just,
point.
it hurts because, you think like, just from the little bit of, okay, I got a degree in sociology, but it's been a while since I've been in school. So I'm sure there's tons of new data and everything. But just the fact that they're like, oh, well, Black people don't feel pain in the same that white people do. I
Hmm.
mean, what
Right.
in the hell is wrong with you?
Hmm.
Right.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, women don't feel pain as much as men, Black
Right.
people as much as white, and so now you're a Black woman, it's like, that's where Serena Williams, that's why that
Right.
happens, right?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's exactly why that happens. And it's of course it's a classic case of othering where you can say, well,
Mhm.
this person is other, they're not quite fully a human, they're not quite this or they're not quite that. And so then it makes it a little bit easier to misuse
Disgusting.
that person, right? To keep them on the outside and to hurt them, to enslave them, to
Mhm.
rape them, to assault them. So that as long as we keep them a them, then it's okay to do that. But that's exactly why I think these stories are so important. We need to be horrified. Like it's not me necessarily like trying to farm drama or torture porn because I have this
Yeah.
conversation a lot of times with a lot of people in different
No.
places. And no, that is not what I'm doing. I'm not putting the pain of Black women and trauma on display for like this entertainment thing. Like, no, yeah, it's a horror story. And sometimes there's a tiny bit of humor mixed in, but I really need for people to be horrified by these things.
Mhm.
I need for them to think about this and say, oh my gosh,
Right,
it
because
would
things won't change unless they
oh,
are.
exactly. It would be terrible if a woman were forced to birth children she didn't want. Is it? It's very horrifying. So it's no less horrifying today than it was then. So let's think about it. Let's talk about it. Let's do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and, like, for this story, like, specifically, like, the things around it, it's like, it leads people to ask those questions. Did things like this happen? And actually looking it up and reading and knowing, obviously this is not gonna be in textbooks that things like this happen. So,
Exactly.
it takes a story like this and things to, like, say, "Oh, I wanna know more,"
Exactly.
and honestly, sometimes what you read is much worse than any fiction, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
The casual just not caring for the lives of so many people is just horrific.
There's a really great podcast right now, and I've stopped listening to it for a little bit because it was like it was just upsetting. But it's about the amount of women that experience significant pain during C-sections
Mm.
Yeah.
and the suffering. It was like finally it was like a head of the female physician unit, and it was one of their own nurses that went through this horrific experience, and really couldn't even come back to work for the trauma that she experienced and everything. And that now these women are going to this woman is going to conferences, really talking to like male OBGYNs and anesthesiologists that were just, and it's normal for women to have this much pain.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's normal for them to feel 6 to 8 layers of their skin just being cut right open. And, when they're like, I can still feel it. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's just pressure.
Right.
And it's just like, if you've ever had a C-section, it's pretty terrifying to begin with because you're strapped down.
Sure.
You can't
If you've
move.
given a blow, whatever. And it's just like to hear that, like, I never had that experience of feeling when I was getting sliced in. Yeah, I could feel, but I mean, you could ask Adam, like on the second child, I was like, I'm never doing this again. I mean,
Mhm.
I felt like I was just being torn around the table. I don't know what was
Oh,
happening, but
yeah.
I felt like my body was
Physically
like
shaking, yeah.
bucking on this. And then afterwards they had like a shortage on pain
The pain meds,
medicine.
and it was
And
just
they're-
like, okay,
Right.
and
you're just gonna have to wait.
yeah, and so when I started hearing this woman talk about this, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, so it was just okay that I was in pain.
Right.
Like,
Totally. It was
you
totally okay.
weren't going to solve for it. It was just, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I know.
I just,
Yep, I've been to the C-section rodeo 3 times, and during 2 of the times,
it's like,
I literally felt
oh
it,
God.
and I had to be put
No.
under general anesthesia because I said, "I can feel that.
Oh,
That's
no.
terrible." Yes, I've been there, totally get it.
Oh.
And then our bodies never completely recover, like, there was so much nerve damage there at the site of the scar. I have no sensation there at all. And my
Mhm.
youngest kid is
God.
19. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God. I hate that. How quickly were you believed and put under? Like, how much pain, or like how long did you have to wait till someone was like, we'll put her under?
Well, luckily for me, my ex-husband, bless him, he was there. And so he said to the anesthesiologist, like very loudly, as I'm telling him, I feel this. He's yelling to the guy. He's like, hey, she still feels this. Somebody's going to have to do something. And so the anesthesiologist thankfully was right
Good.
there and just goes, okay, I have something for that. And he put me totally under.
Oh, good.
Yeah. The first one was an emergency C-section, but they started cutting before the general anesthesia worked, which I appreciate.
That's what my mom
But
said.
yeah, I literally felt
She
that.
said she didn't have the full gas, like, because
Right.
when, she's in her 70s, and she was like, before they put the gas on, she was like, "Yeah, I could feel them fully cut in for your
Yep.
brother." And I was like,
You can
"Holy," and it's
yep.
just normal.
Right.
It's like,
It's
well,
just supposed to be normal. It's just supposed to be a thing. I mean, thankfully, I had a team that was listening.
especially because
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, an emergency C-section, obviously, you never know what you're dealing with and
Right.
why. But when it's a planned
Right.
one and things are going and they're just not believed, it's just like it's just a disrespect towards overall women.
It really is. Well, and not
And
just
who's making these decisions? Why has this just been societally
it
acceptable?
is and then we're also different. And so just because it might have been bad for me and you, maybe it's not as bad for the next person, but it shouldn't matter. Like it should only be that we have whatever
Right?
support we need. Whatever it is, we should just
Right.
have it.
Yeah. Anything beyond the initial, I feel that is unacceptable that
Exactly.
anyone had to go through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You remember when I was getting my stitches out and there was a medical emergency next door?
That sounds
And
horrifying.
they were just like, I gotta go.
They just left me on the table and they were like, "Gotta
Oh,
go."
no.
And good thing they did, but whatever they were doing to the person next door, it sounded like they were unequipped to care for her, and she had like
Screaming,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
and like yeah, and I'm like, I have staples. I'm sorry, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, oh my god, I need to get the hell out of here. And
Yeah.
I had good health insurance. I was in a good area, and I was like,
Mm.
I don't ever want to do this again.
Yeah. No. Oh, we learned
And
real
it's
fast. We decided to stop going to the rodeo. Yeah.
well,
Yes,
well,
exactly.
it's funny because it yeah, it's in a different way, but hopefully it's not a spoiling because it has been out for a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But I think Mama's Babies is my favorite zombie short story I've ever read.
Thank
Mm.
you.
It is, but I love the fact that it is tied into, essentially both a sort of like meditation on a shitty husband and a
Yeah.
shitty like a marriage situation, but then also the fact that she has to go through all these things just to try to get like medication and help for her children,
Yes.
Bullshit.
right?
Yes.
And like the fact that when you live wherever, outside of Houston that she's at,
Mhm.
it's like, oh, it's a 3-hour round trip to try to get a prescription.
Yeah.
It's like that is insane. It's like, oh, we can't go to urgent care yet because we haven't been paid. It's like you can't get emergency medical care for your children, one of whom's disabled,
Right.
because you don't have the money to do it. And like that just like, oh my god. And then I did not see it coming. I knew something was
Yeah.
very wrong, obviously based on what was going on.
I was like, oh, they got a really bad strep throat.
Well, when you say like a
Oop.
little bit of humor, you walk in and you're like, well, at least it was him,
Right. Right.
But like I think it's so sad. It's so like, so darkly satirical, but like it obviously parents aren't dealing with, their kids eating their husband, but
Right.
it ultimately kind of is that,
Uh-huh.
right? Though that it's like I'm going to watch everyone die because I don't have the money to get someone to care for them.
Yes.
So
Well,
sick.
it's a real thing. That story was actually inspired by a nightmare that I had years and years ago when my children were
Wow.
small. Yes, and the nightmare literally went exactly like that. And I woke up, I was in
Ooh.
tears. Every time I'd even think about it, I would just cry. Because when the kids were little, so I have an older son who I had when I got into my first marriage, and then I had 3 kids within that marriage. And so they're much younger than my older son. So it's kind of like he was an only kid, and then there were the 3 younger ones. And so my
Yeah,
oldest
we have
daughter,
we have a 10-year gap, so
right,
I get it.
right.
It's very different. It's like raising 2 different. Yeah.
It's totally different. And so the 3 younger ones were kind of close in age. And so there was one point when I had all 3 of them in diapers because my oldest daughter is disabled. And so she's always been in diapers. And so then when I had her sister and then when I had the baby, so I'm running around with 3 little bitty kids all the time. My ex-husband was always at work. Even when he was at home, he didn't help a ton. And so there were days when I would like joke that if I could just take a one-way bus ride, I'd just leave. But then I'd go, but of course I can't do that because I love my babies. I got to come back. I got to take my
Right.
babies with me.
Mhm.
So that
Mhm.
nightmare haunted me forever. Like I barely could finally write it without crying because it was so disturbing to me.
Mm.
Like there's always that thought of what do we do for motherhood? Like, and I realized, of course, a long time ago, like I would die for my babies. I would die for them, even to this day.
Absolutely.
And so, being able to write that out though, that's always been one of my biggest fears is not zombies, but that something would happen to my children, something would happen to more than one of them at a time, and I would be completely helpless to fix it. And so needless to say,
Wow.
we've done the medical thing. There oh my gosh, there have been so many medical things, especially with my older son and my oldest daughter. My daughter's fed with a G tube. So it's kind of like this little inflatable button that's like inserted into an
Mhm.
incision, right? So she's 23 now,
Mhm.
but when she was much smaller, I would always take her, and I'd always have to take her to the children's hospital because they were the only ones in all of Houston who had the buttons who were her size, right?
Mm.
So I'd have to take her to the children's hospital. One time we went and the
Oh,
doctor did not know how to put a new button in. She popped the old one out. So I went to the emergency room at the children's hospital. The doctor did not know how to put the button in. I'm standing there and I'm kind of coaching him because I knew how to do it. I was just too
I
frightened to
don't.
do it myself. But
Oh God.
after that $1,500 visit, where I was the one who actually told him how to do it, I started popping them in myself because it was insane to me that you're gonna charge insurance is
Yeah.
gonna charge 50 you charge $1,500
I'm so
to
sorry.
do this. And I'm like, "No, I can just do this at home." So I started doing it myself because I thought, I've
God.
had the training, she's big and sturdy now, she's not gonna hurt her, and if I don't do it right, well, then we can always go to the emergency room as a second thing, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, so there's always been medical stuff. And so, I mean, there were times when
These are decisions and things that we should not be having to
oh,
make
we
and do,
shouldn't. We
right?
absolutely should not.
Yeah.
And when she was smaller, she also was not on Medicaid, even though she is very visibly
Mm.
disabled. I went into the Social Security office. Her file was literally like stacks of files because she's very visibly disabled. But I was told that my ex-husband made too much money. She couldn't be on Medicaid. So
Awful.
even though when she got delivered her first wheelchair, we couldn't pay our mortgage that month because our out of pocket for that
Oh my
wheelchair was
god.
$750. So, I say
Oh
that
my
to say
God.
these things happen. She's only 23, so this has happened within the past 20 years.
Mhm.
And so people read it and they go, "Well, this is just horror. This is just this." And I'm like, "No,
No, it's not. It's not just
it's
anything.
not just. There's so much truth in so much of this stuff
Mhm.
that I write. Like it's inspired from real things. I mean, maybe not the zombies are not real, maybe. I don't know. But I mean, the
Yeah.
other stuff for sure.
Right. I think that scene when she is at the drugstore and it's like, "Oh, they should really be seen." It's like, "Well, I can't do that." It's like, "Okay, here's an eye ointment." It's like
Yeah.
it's just it's so surreal to, think and I think we've all been in, unfortunately, situations not as severe, but it's like it's very much that same thing of like you're just trying to get any kind of comfort and it's just so frustrating and you just feel so powerless to help like the people that you feel like your life's purpose was to protect and take care of them, and it's like because of something outside of yourself you're not able to do it, and there's no bigger fear I think than that really
Just
as a
Exactly.
parent.
sheer powerlessness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the thought that they would have to go through it by themselves. Like, no, I would totally
Oh,
I that is absolutely the choice that I
yeah.
would have made. I definitely would have
Mhm.
just been there with them until whatever happens. That's whatever happens.
Yeah. And I love that, the character's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go," and then it's like, "Nope, can't do it." It's like that you show that process in such a short story. I'm like, "Holy, how do you do this?" It's like less than 10 pages long or whatever, and it's like, you go through so much. So, yeah, that's one whenever someone says, I don't like short stories, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, well, read this one and you'll change your mind." So, so so good. But I know that Rebecca and you talked at
Mhm.
Spooktastic, connected over,
Well, it was the
uh
whole group of women
well,
that
the
I
women in
just
the
followed
pink
it
horror.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That it's crazy because,
It's like in the
as
same
a
vein of the medical
well, it's
shit that's
definitely
not
as a
yeah.
man, as someone that it does not go through any of these things, you would think perimenopause was invented in the last 2 or 3 years,
Right.
right?
Right.
The little that it was ever talked about.
Like my own mother is like, "What are you talking about?"
Right. Oh my gosh, my mama, bless her. She's like the sweetest woman and she's really smart. She's like 76, right? And when my sister and I, so we're like about 2 years apart, we started talking, "Mama, why didn't you tell us about this? Why didn't you tell us about that?" She's
Yeah.
looking at us and she goes, "Oh, well, I never had all of those things, only the hot flashes." And so we look at her and we go, "Are you kidding me? Like, are you for real? That's
Mhm.
it?
Yeah.
That's it?" And we have all this other stuff.
That's pretty much
But do you think that
exactly
they
with my mom.
do you
74,
yeah.
didn't have those
Yeah.
things.
Do you think they blocked it out, or do you think that it was just so normal to be in pain and have these things happening that it was just another day? Like,
I
it's
think
like it's
that.
hard to think.
I do think that it's that. I mean,
Yeah.
because you think about how we're just actually being I think Gen X has blown the lid off this
Yes.
perimenopause thing. We are like, "Listen, we're tired of
Yeah.
being
I think
silent."
you're right.
Yeah, we're tired of being silent. We're gonna talk about this because this is some BS,
Mhm.
man. Like, we don't think anybody should have to suffer
Yeah,
Yeah.
through
I
this
do.
stuff, you know?
Because our parents would have been like in the 90s
Right.
when this
Mhm.
was happening. And the stigma behind mental health and suffering and sharing any of that stuff, you just really weren't.
Yeah, you just didn't. I mean, and then the symptoms are so broad, right? Until you look at this. And so like I say, my sister and I, we have the same genetics, but we're different people. We have different symptoms and we're having to approach them in different ways, right? So like there are times when I just have this we both have the hot flashes. For her, black cohosh is like this wonderful thing. She's able to take it, it's
Mm.
fine. I tried it and I broke out in hives. It's right. So like I was going,
Oh,
okay, I gotta find something else. We have a cousin who's our age. She has been talking about this hormone replacement therapy. And I really think I might have to look into that because I just don't feel like myself. Like I have to literally
yeah.
put on a mask to feel like Rhonda most days. And so by the end of the
Mhm.
day, I'm
Yeah.
exhausted because I'm like, I'm tired. And then there's the rage. And then we talk about the hot flashes. And then there's this thing,
Hmm.
there's the itchy skin. Like, I was like, are you kidding me?
Yes, I know, and thankfully that women are so willing to share because that was the first time I had heard about like, well, if your ears are itchy, and I was like, they itch all the
All
time,
the
and
time.
I've cleaned them out. They're good to go. There's not, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a perimenopause symptom, and I was like, shut up, like what?
And I have terrible allergies, so I wouldn't have known that. I would have thought, "Well, my allergies are just acting up." It's like, "No, girlie, that's a whole different thing. It's more than just your allergies."
It is, and it's even interesting because like in a previous life, like I led sales teams, and I just remember having like a one-on-one with the one female sales rep, and I was like, oh hey, how's your day going? She's like, oh, I had my period today. It's like, it's just a really hard day, and I was kind of like shocked at first that she said it, and then I'm
Mhm.
like, you know what? Why shouldn't we talk about it?
Right.
Why can't she be real? And I'm like, you know what? Hell yeah, because I always felt like for the first day of your period, you should be able to work from home or whatever, because
Right.
that is some miserable shit. Like depending, it's just I love when people try on those like cramp simulators and
Uh-huh,
things like that
uh-huh.
because it is just, and you're just expected to just like function. I
Right.
always think about that for like Olympic athletes, like the swimmers or, whatever. And I'm just like, you're just doing all this while you're
Yep.
menstruating and you're just like, okay. And so, yeah, I mean, I love that, like, I just don't think that women would talk about their periods. And now I think it's just a lot more common. And, I know that shout out to Adam. He's always been like willing to be like, if I'm like, pick this up, pick that up, shop this. And, and our youngest is like, I ran out of
Wonderful.
tampons. And I'm like, your dad's at the store right now. Call him. He'll get them. And
Mhm.
she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, daddy will pick up anything. He doesn't
Mhm.
care.
That's
Someone
so
looks at me, I'm like,
sweet.
"What, motherfucker? What do you gotta say?"
No, but I love that I was like, honestly, you're more comfortable buying period stuff than I am because you bought it more times than I
Yes.
have.
Oh, I
Like,
love that. Kudos to you.
I'm
Oh my
so
gosh.
serious. I'm so serious. But like, I just feel like it kind of brings me back to the IUD thing too, where they just that's
No pain,
barbaric.
no
Like they
pain
just like,
Yes.
meds
let me shove this in.
into your uterus,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
what the
Oh no, we
I remember
And she's
when that
like,
was
you did
happening, I'm
so
just
good. You
so
did so good. And
I was so I'm like,
yeah,
"This
no.
makes no sense."
well,
Like, why?
and it's like now that I'm reading all these stories online of the amount of people like, yeah, I passed out. I was
Yes.
so, and I'm like, Okay, great. It wasn't just me. Like,
No, it
I
was
wasn't
not.
being a wuss
No,
or
it wasn't just you. I loudly helped my daughter advocate, one of my daughters, for pain relief during that insertion process. I was like, we're not doing this. You're not going to sit here. I don't care how much, what it costs. I don't care what you have to write it on in the insurance.
it
You're not going to do this without any anesthesia, without pain relief for her. You're not going to do it.
yes,
So we have to be, I mean, we're
let me
being
tell
very
you.
loud about
I'm just sitting here and I'm like, yes. I'm like thinking, like, I'm at that point where I have to get mine switched soon. And I'm thinking, like, I think I'm just going to schedule to get the whole, like,
Mhm.
under and just get the tubes. Because
uh
I don't even, I'm horrified by stories of people talking about the removal and the swap.
Oh my
And I'm like,
gosh.
oh my God.
Yeah, we have
I,
stories, we have stories. Yeah, I had a hysterectomy about 3
oh
years
God.
ago. It was the best thing ever because I walked into my OBGYN, I was like, "Listen, I am over it. We gotta do something about this." And he just goes, Okay, I can tell that you're over it. Let's do it." Okay? I'm like, "I'm not breeding anymore. That's way long ago." So I didn't have to fight about any of that. Went in, the
How nice.
procedure was supposed to be a day procedure. I went in, I came home. He used this kind of a pain blocker that was supposed to last really long. I was back in the ER. I actually had to spend that July 4th weekend in the hospital because of the pain. There was
Oh.
I'm so
something that
sorry.
happened. The most terrifying part about that, though, was that when they actually did remove my uterus, he's like, "Oh, yeah. Well, I knew I had fibroids. That was kind of a lifelong thing. I actually also had endometriosis that was undiagnosed." So I'm literally in
Oh.
Huh.
as soon as I started having periods, I'm that kid that would miss days out of school. I'm in the bed, I'm on the fainting couch, and I mean, people are saying, "You're just being dramatic." And I'm like, "No, it's really a miracle that I was able to have the 4 kids that I did have because I
Oh
had
my
all this
gosh.
stuff going on." And so I was glad to have it
Absolutely.
gone, but because I kept my ovaries, I'm so glad I did that. But at the same time, I'm like, I would have been going through this stuff at that time, and I don't think that I could have
Mm.
done it successfully. I have not knowing what the symptoms of peri were, I literally could have lost my job. Like my old dean and I had this altercation that just wasn't, I mean, you'd say to yourself, this is not me. But I didn't know what was going on. All I know is that
No, you
I
don't.
just knew that he upset me highly. So I stormed out of his office and was like, I don't know what's happening here. We literally didn't talk to each other for like weeks because he was frightened to say anything to me, poor guy. I mean, and
Good.
As he should be.
that's not to say that what he did, like what he said or how he went about that was okay, but it wasn't the thing. Like my vice president actually called me into her office. She was like, I heard about this thing happening. This is how terrible it was. She heard about this. Are you okay? And I said, I know that you're concerned that this is something that violates HR rules. No, he is not being racist. There's no sexual assault. There's no assault. There's none of that. There was none of that. I didn't appreciate how he approached this, but there was none of that. He's okay.
Mm.
Okay. And I know that was their concern, but my concern was what possessed you to just storm out of there like that, girl, so that half the campus knew that happened? Like what is going on? Well, of course, now I know
Because
it's the
yes,
beginning of that. That's what it was.
Mm.
it's so interesting that you would say that because, but don't you feel like, okay, let me slow down. My brain often goes faster than my mouth. I remember on some days when I was getting a period that I would be like, because I've been fortunate to be one of those girls that don't get it with the IUD.
Uh-huh.
And so there'll be times when I'm like, wow, I am really spicy this week.
Uh-huh.
What is going on here?
Uh-huh.
And then I'll be like, must be ovulating, must be having the cycle without knowing, right? But I always felt like when I was able to physically see and tell, and I would get to that spiciness level, as I like to call it, I'd be like, you know what? It's almost like Rebecca can't wear the fucking mask this week.
Right.
I just can't tolerate it. And I'm like, wish I could be like that all the time because it's not like I was mean.
Right.
I just, my threshold for masking and bullshit was I couldn't do
Yep.
it. Like I what and so when I hear you say you stormed out for whatever reason, it's like I don't feel like you're being emotional. I feel like you're probably being true to yourself. Like, hell no, I'm not staying for this. Like I can't,
Exactly.
I am so mad. And it's like, but we're I think expected to cover things a lot. So I was gonna ask you, like, do you think that that was actually like a bit of a blessing that you know what, you didn't have to put on your fake mask this time and That's just my first
Oh,
thought.
it totally was. I mean, in the aftermath, right? Like when he and I were able to reconvene and meet again, I was able to say to him, "Hey, you know what? This is the thing. You kind of came at me with these things that were not actual statistics. That you just printed them out on a little random piece of paper. There were no parameters, there were no variables. You just kind of attacked me with this when we're supposed to be meeting about this other thing. Bro, can you just like tell me next time if you want to have a meeting what we're going to talk about and then let's just talk about that thing though?" And then he was all like, "Yeah, sure, I can do that. I understand that." And like when I say we were besties, it was wonderful. But in that moment, in the time before that, like I've had these moments when, oh, and my husband, bless him, he is so patient. I have to say, first of all, he's a truck driver, so he's not home a lot, number one. But secondly, I think that he had a lot of sisters, and so he kind of understands this thing because I have raged at him for things that, yeah, you can be upset, but like it didn't take all of that. And then he just kind of looks at me and he just kind of goes, "Okay, I understand you're upset." And he'll just kind of let me go. I'll put myself in timeout and then he'll go get food and then everything is great. So I mean I think that it is helpful because when we cannot do the mask, I think that that is a lot of our truth. A lot of our truth is coming out.
It
And
is.
it takes this age and this circumstance for us
Yes.
to just be like, you know what? I can't do that anymore. I just can't. I cannot
You know,
pretend anymore. Like you're just going to get the full wrath of all of this.
so funny that you said that. Okay, so you asked the question on about our mothers if we
Hmm.
were going through. So just what RJ just said here, I remember distinctly my mother in her early 40s telling me, because like your 40s are your best years of your life because you stop caring what other people think.
Ah, yes.
And now I'm wondering if that's when her mask came off. That was
Mhm.
part of her perimenopause of
Maybe.
she doesn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
And now there's that whole movement online that I don't know if you've seen it, the We Do Not Care
Oh
Club.
my gosh, I love that. It's so funny to me.
I love that.
So
And
funny.
every time she shares the recommendations, I'm like, damn it, I still care about that. I need to make changes
Yeah.
on that or whatever. But
Love Melanie.
it's
I love her content. But it's so
so
real. It's like
freeing.
I don't care about
And how
that.
organically she brought together this community of women that were just like, you know what? Yeah, we don't feel like doing this anymore.
Exactly.
And it was her authenticity and real lived experience that, and if anybody hasn't listened, just look up We Do Not Care Club.
Yes.
You'll find her reels. It's the best. It make you feel so good as a woman, really at any age. But yeah, I really wonder if that's where the 40s, where she's like, you just don't give a shit anymore. And I'm thinking that's where it just shifted for her. She just didn't care
I think
anymore,
so.
of what other women thought and what this and that were happening.
I think
And
yes.
Adam, I know
I
that like
think you're right.
for you, like, yeah, I do. And for you, Adam, this summer, I think was the biggest part where you were like, what happened to my wife of 20 some years?
No.
Like, where did she go? So I'd love for you to share your experience. I'm
Uh,
staring at you and you, no kidding.
I'm like,
You better tell it right. I'm joking. I'm joking. No, be honest.
well, I think that, I've heard it referred to as puberty too, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
second puberty.
And like, I
Big,
think
big
that,
feelings.
well, that's what it is it's like, they joke in like the videos and stuff, but it's definitely like a, hey, how's it going today? How are you feeling? And you kind of gauge from there. But it is very much like understanding. It's like, and Rebecca will often say, like, I can't stand myself today. So you might just want to like,
Right.
watch
That's
yourself.
why I like
Yeah.
RJ how you said I put myself in
Yeah.
timeout. I'm like,
Yes.
But, at the same time, I also kind of like it. So
I know you do.
I'm like, yeah, bring that spice. What's going on? Why? Ooh, yeah, get madder. So,
I think this summer for me was huge emotions that I had never experienced before. And just even things of like, okay, well, we've been married for over 20 years now. And why would you want me anymore?
Yeah.
Aren't you done with me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did these almost like intrusive thoughts
Sure.
of,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
I didn't, it was like those big emotions like that. And just, I don't know. You didn't do anything that made me feel in any ways like
mhm.
that, but it was just,
It just
I felt like
happens.
second puberty really describes that, where you're just like, I felt so in, and I don't know why I feel like I'm back to myself now. Maybe I'm just in like
Yeah.
a new phase, but I'm
Maybe.
prepared
It's
for
a
it to
dormant
shift.
period.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I'm
exactly.
prepared for this to rapidly shift at any point.
Yeah, I don't
God.
know. I
I'm
think
expecting to find you with some, like, eyeliner and a hoodie
right,
on,
right.
listening to emo music.
Stop. No, but you know what? It is the fact where I'm like, what do I want to be doing?
Yeah.
Where do I see myself? Like,
Yes.
what things have I never tried that why did I count myself out for this?
Right.
Why like it is that level of I almost feel like I'm stepping into the real version of myself for the
Mhm,
first
mhm.
time. And I'm actually really excited for it.
Yeah, well, and I think that when we can embrace, like, first of all, there's not anything we can do about it. My mama is one of her sayings that she's always said to us was the only way to not get old is to die young. So, with that
Mm.
perspective, it's
Mhm.
like, okay, so I'm going to get older. I'm just going to have to kind of deal with it and grapple with it. I think the biggest time that I'm having with it, because I am still trying to get across that bridge. Like I'm not done yet. So I'm still kind of in the trenches. It's just having a way to have anticipated this. Like I wasn't looking for the brain fog. It terrified me when
Right.
I started forgetting stuff
Yep.
because it's important that I remember things. Like not only am I my household manager, but like I work. I need to remember words so that I can use them. But there are times when I have these brain blips where I just forget stuff. And the first time it happened, I will forget how to get home while I'm driving, but I'm in the neighborhood. I just can't remember how to get to my house. And the first time that happened and Jose was in the car with me, I
Oh,
was mortified because he looks at me and he kind of says, well, hey, and so then I look at him and then I'm like, burst into tears. And he's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. I said, it just happened again. I don't know how to get home. Just hold on. Let me get my bearings. Let me just, if I sit here long enough, then I can
holy
do this.
shit.
And so when it was over, I think he finally understood it. So in his own little way, he tries to be helpful. Like there's one day I was going to go out of our bedroom to do something with the kids. And he goes, wait, wait. He says, Mommy, wait, you don't have on any pants. But I wasn't leaving the room, but he thought I'd forgotten to put on pants. And I'm going, oh my gosh, my
God.
husband thinks that I can't remember anything now, but I can appreciate that he's
I
helping me.
mean, you know what? I appreciate the safety
Yes,
net now
I
Yeah.
because
appreciate
who
that because he
knows?
understands it. He saw it in action and he knows how terrifying it is when it happens. And so I don't feel anymore like I have to try to, because I would try to explain it to him and he just kind of go, okay. Like he didn't poke fun about it, but once he saw it, I think he really understood, okay, this is very scary for her.
Yeah,
I travel a lot
it
for
is.
book stuff. And he's like, okay, I get that,
Yeah.
and I'm like, but it's crazy. It doesn't happen when I'm away. I know I don't know where I'm going when I'm out of town, but like when I'm here close to
So are
home.
you low jacked now? Is that like are you low jacked with like Life 360 or
Yeah,
something
okay,
now to like
listen, okay. I'm like, follow my location, like find out where I am. Like I'll turn on the GPS in a minute and I'm
help
like a
me,
minute
help
away.
myself?
Right? Oh,
Do
honey.
you get those
Mhm.
messages? "Why'd you take that left?
Yes,
What do you"
oh, we are sharing when I'm anywhere. Yes, because it is I think that just having people understand, right? Just that is really important that
Yeah.
people at home understand. I wish that we had more workplace protections though, because I do worry that a
Mhm.
lot of things
Mhm.
that happen at work, like, they're not really prepared to deal with those things. So, thankfully I've learned how to just kind of it never happens with students, so I'm thankful about that. The rage never hits me again towards them because I mean they're kids, right?
Mhm.
My own kids. We're not doing that. Like, the grown-ups, the other people though, that's a whole other situation and I'll just go hide out in my office.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like it's different to have corporate conversations or professional conversations now because I just find it more difficult to mask. My tolerance, and that could be less with just even perimenopause, but just more like okay,
Having
lived
dealt with
experiences
bullshit
and
for
whatever.
20 some
Yeah.
Right,
years,
but it's
yeah.
that filter or that wick length, I
Yes.
guess is what I say, like,
Mhm.
till you explode. And it's not explosion, it's just, no. I think like you mentioned yours as the brain fog. I think for me it was more like Adam, you've always known me as this very secure, very independent, like very strong person. And I think that mine represent like came out in forms of like insecurity
Right,
and
yeah.
like sadness and like it timed with me having been at a job place for 10 years and then being restructured
Yeah.
through massive and I knew that I didn't have to take it personally
Right.
because it wasn't like I was doing a bad job or anything. It was just literally like consolidations and massive changes in the marketplace.
Hmm.
And it wasn't just my company that was, that I worked for that was having it happen to. It
Right.
was lots of companies, but it sure made me feel so insignificant and timing at that
Oh,
time and just
yeah.
I think feeling it on an intensity level
Hmm.
that you weren't used to having to kind of coach and coddle and hold. And, it just, I think at this time you were doing so much on Instagram and like, and trying to write your book. And so I just, through any other time that probably would have been fine. But I think for this, it was just felt like abandonment to me. And I just felt lost, of
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to solve myself. You know what? I really need Rebecca from like 2 years ago to just step in here and tell me what to do.
Right. Right.
Because this Rebecca is like, I don't know. And I guess that's just part of the crossroads. Like
Yep.
maybe that is a whole part of this age where you're stepping out of an old shell or, right, all animals do it, right? You have your hermit crab
Yep.
or shed your exoskeleton, whatever, like maybe that's just normal. But again, I wasn't taught it.
Right.
So I just feel like I'm failing and
Right.
I'm terrified and I'm going through life alone. And like I'm saying to my husband, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry
Right.
that like, I'm not dealing with this well.
Right. It comes
Um,
with all of
and
that.
he's just like, it's fine, but it's not fine for me because I don't entirely feel like myself
Right.
in terms of that way still. But it is like one of those things where it's like, maybe it was just finally allowed to be human. And maybe it is all about taking off the
Well,
mask.
I think so. I do think that I like that. I can recognize that. I think though that also there's just so much that happens because it's not just physical stuff. This does impact us mentally. And so when you already like suffer from anxiety like I do, this stage actually
Yep.
exacerbates
Yeah.
that. So I mean, so
The
you
doctor told me that.
yes.
She said it peaked, it spikes. And I
It
was like, no
does.
shit.
Absolutely. I'm like, "Listen, we need to recalibrate some stuff because I
She told me
give me
that.
some."
She's like, you
and
need to,
and that
yes.
is
And I was
exactly
like,
what we did. And thankfully, though,
and I'm glad I need to follow your lead because I didn't do
oh
it.
my
I just
gosh.
decided I was going to suffer, I
Well,
guess.
my
I,
hot flashes are not as bad as they could be because I am on an antidepressant. So there's sometimes when doctors will
mm,
put women on an antidepressant in perimenopause to help with those symptoms. So like my OBGYN told me, he says, "Well, you're already taking this, so I would prescribe it, but you're already taking it. It's already going to do as much as it's going to do." So I'm sitting here going, "Wait a minute, you mean this could be worse? The whole hot flash, it could be worse than this?
yeah,
You mean this is it being mitigated? Oh my gosh, well, thanks for that." But
that's
we have to
crazy.
have the teams in place who can tell us all these parts. Like he didn't tell me that I was crazy. I mean, well, it just so happened too that last year I gave myself a concussion also. So that paired with the brain fog, like
Oh, God.
they got me into a neurologist, they let me do a psychological
Good.
test. I mean, so I've had a really good team that's surrounding me. And it's like, I don't want to say they're entertaining me because this stuff is important, but like I'm thinking that I'm falling apart, I'm going crazy, and they're like, "Well, let's just test this, let's just check that." And
That's
so
so good.
that is a really good thing. I'm so happy about that because we all don't have that.
Well, I'm so happy for you that you're willing to talk to a team because I definitely fall short there. Like I like to suffer alone because I think I've had some of those very invalidating medical
Uh,
experiences
yeah,
where I've been like you're just an asshole. Like why are you here?
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like my current doctor's not like that at
Oh,
all. She's
good,
the best.
good.
But it still have to be I had to get to the point where I like literally couldn't dress myself because my shoulder hurt so bad that I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess I gotta go in
No, honey, they are
and
there.
that's not good either.
No, it's
So
not.
I'm recognizing I have to make some
Sure.
adjustments too,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like there's you saying that about the anxiety and the more intrusive thoughts and the more
Yes.
anxious feelings
Yes.
and all that, and the pit in my stomach. It's like, oh, okay, so maybe I don't have to be suffering like this,
No.
even though
Oh,
I knew that it spiked. So thank you for reminding me and for being an empowering woman to say, go do this,
yes. Go do
like
that.
you don't need to suffer.
No, we will take listen, we need all the stuff because we just have to get through this. And I think that that's one thing that advocating for my daughter for her lifetime has helped with me is that I am not scared to be loud. I will be as loud as I got to be. You can
Okay.
say I'm on the fainting
Love that.
couch, I'm being dramatic. I really don't care. But when I get up off the fainting couch, you're going to listen to what I have to say because ain't nobody getting no peace if you don't help me. There's got to be something to be done, and I need you to do your part in finding that something, okay?
One more perimenopause question for
Uh-huh.
you. Do you feel like I can sleep with the help of like a melatonin gummy or whatever, but I feel like I'm just as tired as when I was like fresh after having a baby or, just why can I never feel like I'm ever rested?
I don't have an answer for that one because I'm right there with
Do
you.
you experience that?
Oh my gosh, I am always
Okay.
exhausted. Every single day that I come home from work, I mean, it doesn't help that my commute is hugely long, right, through Houston traffic. Even today, we came home early, my daughter and I. The first thing I did was I got into bed. Every day when I come home, I must go to bed. I took a nap before I came on here. I'm kind of glad that we have the
Yes.
video off because I'm glad they can't see the bags under my eyes.
Listen,
But yes, I'm exhausted.
this is why we do audio only,
Yes,
because I am in my bed and I am in my pajamas because I don't have the capacity to be in screen
right.
one more minute. Honest to God,
Okay.
truthful.
This is how we get our social time without having to go anywhere.
Well, see, and you're saying that, and I was all worried. I'm like, let me get out of the bed. I got to go do this in the office. The camera might be on. Let me
I'm
put
so
I know, I
on
sorry.
feel
some
bad. I'm
lipstick.
like, I feel like that needs to be part of the invitation is that this is a safe zone for people
Please,
that don't like
please
clothes
show up
like that.
Oh
haggard.
my
Like, I mean, if
God.
I ever post a picture of how I'm recording,
Oh
oh
my
man.
gosh. Well, one thing that has helped though, that I noticed that helps me to sleep. I did see in one of the perimenopause forums, some ladies were talking about this magnesium glycinate.
Yes, I
I
have
have
that.
that because melatonin doesn't work for me. I have that. So
See,
I'm able to get sleep, but it's not good sleep. So once I
yeah.
get exhausted enough,
The magnesium glycinate was working for me for like 2 years
mhm,
and then it just stopped. Like I
okay.
ordered a fresh new bottle and I'm like, it's 3 o'clock in the
Yep.
morning and I am still
Yep.
awake.
We're just up. Oh my gosh. I stayed up till like 6 o'clock a.m. one night last week, just randomly because I just
Oh
couldn't
God.
sleep. The magnesium glycinate did not work. And I
Okay.
was just like,
I'm gonna
it would
just
be different if I could be productive while I was not sleeping, but it's not like
right.
I'm writing like I should be. I'm just laying in the bed, flipping through channels.
RJ, I'm gonna next time I'm up late, well, I'll be like, hey, are you up?
Yeah, exactly. And I
You
will
probably
probably
act
be
like
Is this a
actually
thirst trap? What's happening?
actually I am.
actually I
So
am.
man, I mean,
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing everything from, what you do. And I told you when I met you, like, I would love to take a class of yours just because
Thank
it's so
you.
insightful, so brilliant. Everything you shared at Spooktastic. And I feel like we've connected on so many things and I'm really excited to read a novel of yours. Do you have an expected
Oh,
date for when that might be coming
thank you.
out?
Well, no. So of course I gotta finish it first. My agent is wonderful. She's so wonderful.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair
So yeah,
enough.
I gotta finish that. Like I've finished the proposal, but I do have to finish it. So the novel is still yet to be shopped, but I do have that second story collection coming out this next summer.
Yes.
Just had
Okay.
Wonderful,
yeah, so
wonderful.
that'll be coming out with Quill and Crow, and I do have
Oh, I love Bill and
We
Crow.
do.
yes,
We
yes,
love Quill
and
and
I do
Crow.
have an illustrated chapbook that just came out last week through Rapture Publishing. Not
Oh, with
oh my
Rapture,
gosh, when I tell
yes.
An
y'all
illustrated
that
Chris Panettiere did
yes.
that cover, and it's
It is
amazing.
amazing. When I say that the artwork is
Right.
everything. So there's that. I also have a novelette coming out in an anthology next month with Pandy Press. It's going to be in one of their November Pandy Press box. So it's going to have like a best of collection
Is that the
from
one with
Brian
Laurel
Keaton.
Hightower and
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes. And then Laurel Hightower, Gemma Amore, Haley Piper, and me. That's what's going to be in that second book. So,
wow.
I mean,
hell
oh my gosh,
yeah.
For
I'm such a fan.
Hell yeah.
for past meet night, right?
Yes, 4 past meat night. It's so funny because when we started starting, Akeem kind of said, well, hey, we got to think about titles. And so Haley goes, I'm sorry, my brain only works like this. And then she comes out with 4 past meat night. And I'm just like, that's brilliant. I can't come up with anything as
Yeah.
great as
I
that.
love it.
So
I'm like,
it's
it's
wonderful.
evocative, it's kinda gross. I
Right,
love it.
right. Oh my
I
gosh.
can't
It was
wait.
so perfect. Like
I
she's a
can't wait till
genius.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we get to put out the Laurel Hightower episode
Next
too,
week, yeah.
because you will have to listen to it, RJ, because she has this conversation on here about her shitty first husband in a way,
Yes,
whatever, and
yes.
where she has this rage moment that and I'm like, I loved it. I absolutely
Yes.
Yeah.
loved it. But there's so many like powerful, amazing women that we get to meet. And I'm sure like
Right.
when you sit on panels like that, that you get to be around and the powerhouse of women that you're going to debut or, you know, the Four Pass Meet Night with, like, absolutely love it. We hope that you will come back on as you have your, obviously, if you want to talk about the novelette or you want to, you know, next summer stories.
Oh, sure.
We're already
Thank
booking
you.
some people for next year, but we would love to have you back.
Oh,
You're
anytime.
absolutely delightful. You're
Mhm.
a top tier friend of the show. You come back anytime you want.
Yep. Just let us
Thanks
know.
so much.
Always open.
Y'all are so much fun. I'm so happy that we had a chance to meet and chat. Y'all are my people, and this is really exciting.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
are. And I just need to have more opportunity to be around all of you all
Yes.
because you walk away
Energized.
I
Yeah.
do. And I often just feel like I'm an extroverted introvert.
Uh-huh.
But when I have connections like this, Vanessa, who was on your panel, I'm like, God, I wish she lived closer.
Yes,
Mhm.
Like,
yes.
you're in Texas. She's
Tanya.
in Florida. You know, it's just like, it's just one of those things that you find these people where you're like, yes, 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 yes.
Yes, yes. And so you all are in Harrisburg. Are you in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, we're close to like Hershey and
Oh,
Lancaster. Yeah.
nice. Okay, because I will be back there in the area, well, like York, for the dark drafts.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
we'll be there.
Yeah.
I will see you.
Yeah, excellent.
That is Lancaster County.
Yes.
Okay,
Excellent.
well then we'll be there, and cannot wait to see you. That's
Yes.
January.
Yes, January. Excellent. That's great. I will be so happy to play with y'all again.
My gosh, and I'm telling you, just send me your itinerary, how much you're there. I will get you some. We will have a nice little whatever you want, whatever you need when you travel here, because
Mhm.
there's so much like amazing like creepy antique shops around
Really?
here that is fun fodder for
Oh, man.
stories,
I
and like
love
the
that.
place itself for the catacombs that you're in are just
Yes.
amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was there
You'll
this
love it.
past January and I thought this building is just gorgeous. Like it was so perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, this is the place where they should have things like this. So I'm super excited that they're doing it
I
again.
know. Yeah. Well, round 2, we'll be doing it with
Mhm.
you.
Excellent.
And if you need anything in the meantime, reach out. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you in January.
Yeah,
Okay.
look forward to Rebecca's 3 a.m. messages.
I do
Exactly.
too.
Yes, exactly. Because I'm pretty sure most of the time I'm going to be awake.
Awesome. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
Thanks so much. Y'all have a good night too. Bye-bye.